Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video about Peloton. So today we're going to cover a couple things. I'm going to go over who is Peloton, how do you value a new company, how's their stock been performing, we'll do a quick financial review, and then talk about what's next for the company. So Peloton is known for making fitness bikes that are connected to spin classes online, so you can work out at home. They also make treadmills, other fitness equipment, and they have a standalone app that you get tons of workouts through without having to buy their equipment. Ultimately, Peloton is bringing fitness in the gym into your home in a lot of different ways. So they didn't start off big. They actually started off as nothing more than an idea that John Foley had with two of his friends. So John Foley was the director of e-commerce for Barnes and Noble, which was in the process of being taken out by Amazon. He got another friend of his that was a CTO for another company and a CEO. The three of them combined and came up with this idea that they were able to raise $400,000 for on a $2 million valuation. How's an idea worth $2 million? Well, it comes down to how big is your idea and who's on your founding team. When you have a team of C-suite people and a big idea, it can be worth anywhere from $2 to $5 million in general. Now, this didn't get Peloton out of the woods at all. They actually struggled to raise money and stay solvent until about 2014 when they were able to raise their first round of venture capital. Today, they're valued at $35 billion, and they're not really struggling for money at all anymore. They're actually struggling to keep up with the amount of success that they've had. So their stock is outperforming the market pretty considerably. They're up about 360% over the last year versus 41% for the S&P 500. Their beta is 0.46, which is extremely low. Part of that is because their stock has performed so well, and part of that is because a lot of their revenue comes from monthly recurring subscriptions like a utility company, and generally utility companies do have lower betas. So let's check out their balance sheet. There's a couple things that I want to point out here. Number one is their cash and marketable securities. You can see in 2019, they had about 300 million versus in 2020, they have over $1.8 billion. This is all money raised from their IPO. What this has allowed them to do is do things like purchase their manufacturer and purchase Precor, another fitness company, which is going to allow them to cut their delivery time by a lot, be in charge of their quality control, and then expand out into other products that aren't spin bikes, things like treadmills, home gyms, anything else that they can imagine. One other thing I do want to point out, they have almost no debt. There's really no risk of this company going bankrupt at all. And they have an accumulated deficit in shareholder equity. What this means is money that they lost in previous years is retained on their balance sheet and used to offset taxes. So for example, for this $1.8 billion in revenue that they earned last year, they only paid about $100,000 in taxes. So let's check out the cash flow statement a little bit. So we can see last year they earned $1.8 billion, and they've been on a trend of doubling their revenue every year since at least 2017. They are projecting $4.4 billion in revenue in 2021, so they are going to double this again. Now, one thing I do want to point out is they have had consistent net losses while EBITDA is becoming profitable. Their biggest expense is marketing and SG&A expenses, which you can see in this total operating expenses here. So the reason why they're losing money is ultimately they're choosing to. They're paying more for R&D and marketing. At any time, they could scale this back and become very profitable if they want to. Other thing I do want to point out, their cost of revenue is 54%, so they're operating at a 45% margin. That's very high for the fitness industry. So how are they driving forward towards profitability so quickly? It really comes down to the subscription. Their subscription margin is 65%, and this is reoccurring revenue. They retain 92% of their subscribers every year. So this number is just going to continue to snowball as they sell more and more fitness equipment, and it's going to sustain the company once the market has been saturated. So timing also plays a big factor in business. They IPO'd in September of 2019. 4 months later, the whole world shut down, which was a great thing for an at-home fitness business. Sometimes luck favors the prepared. The result of this was the company is now valued at $35 billion, and they have a $1.8 billion in cash sitting on their balance sheet, and they become a household name. So what's next for Peloton? They purchased Precor, which is a large American fitness equipment manufacturer, and cut their waiting time for equipment from 4 months to 2 weeks. It's also allowed them to expand into treadmills and home gyms. They have a ton of celebrity partnerships. So if you've ever wondered if you could cycle faster than Serena Williams, well, now you can find out. They're expanding their equipment line to take over the home gym market, try and lock companies like Mir out of the market and compete with Tonal, who does more of like a home gym experience versus a spin experience. And their subscription service continues to drive revenue. You don't need Peloton equipment to sign up for their workouts. So this subscription service is going to become the foundation of their future growth. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Thank you so much.